Thanks for joining us. What we're going to do today is go through a demo of the control tower here at HyperTrack as we create a platform for logistic APIs. We've noticed that a lot of the logistics tech builders that we work with need a control tower, and we want to show how to use our APIs to configure that, for your environment by giving an example of how we look at this. So today I have Ben with us who will go through this demo. My name is Jared. I'm with product marketing here. Before I'll pass it over to Ben, just wanted to mention, if you have any questions, feel free to either send me a chat directly or put it in the chat during the conversation, or you can of course save it to the end and just ask us live. But this is meant to be interactive and kind of a casual webinar, so hopefully you're able to get the most out of it with asking the questions you need. We should be here about 30 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, let us know, and I'll go ahead and pass it to Ben. Let him introduce himself, and we'll go from there. Thanks again for joining us.
Absolutely. My name is Ben Johnson. I'm a solution architect here at HyperTrack, and we built this demo, as Jared said, because a lot of our customers do come in, both new and old, wanting to either duplicate those iconic experiences in the market right now, both from a control tower and customer perspective, or to build their own customized, advanced customer experience and ops experience. So we wanted to show how you could kind of consume the various HyperTrack outputs and information streams to create your own customized control tower, or how you could embed our out-of-the-box features to accomplish those same things. So without further ado, I'll click here. And so the first thing I was going to kind of give you an overview of is the use case that I'm approaching today. I'm going to use the last mile delivery use case. And today I'll be your driver and as well as your operator, and kind of show you the various streams. And for last mile, every customer comes in with the same requirements. They want to start with the hardest piece, which is assignment. So HyperTrack does offer order batching and routing. So you give us a bunch of orders and your resources, we tell you the best way to deliver them. That's usually the scheduled use case. For on-demand use cases, most customers will come in and use our nearby service, or that proximity search, as you may have heard it called. And that's going to be very simply, you give us a destination, say the pickup location, and a radius, and we're going to give you all your active drivers within that radius, sorted by ETA. So this driver is closest, they'll be there in 2 minutes. So you might want to assign a short SLA on-demand order to that closest driver. Then, of course, we're going to offer live order tracking, wherein once that order is assigned to the driver, the order information, the route, everything they need to know is going to get pushed to that driver. Now, there's two options there. Many customers want to build their own driver and customer experience on the phone, and we offer a SDK for that, which is going to capture all the location information, the phone health, battery information, so on and so forth, connection information, and forward that into the HyperTrack cloud. Or for customers who want to get to market very quickly, we do offer an open source out-of-the-box visits application, which works great as a driver application, or you can, of course, branch and modify that to however you need it to work. And of course, that's simply going to embed our SDK as well. Everything starts with the SDK. And then all that information, the location, the order updates, are processed through the HyperTrack cloud, and the outputs are going to be both that operations view, the live ETAs, here's my drivers, this is where they're going, customer views, those shareable URLs to give you that Uber-like, my driver's on the way, they'll be there in 5 minutes experience. And then, of course, a rich data set accompanying all this information is going to come back so that you can iterate on your business processes. So a quick technical overview of how HyperTrack works. As I mentioned, we are a cloud service. You're going to start with the SDK, installing that in your application. It can be as simple as adding the SDK and initializing it so that you create a unique device ID. But after that, it will passively and automatically upload all the correct information, location data, health data, et cetera, to the HyperTrack cloud. In the cloud, we run a number of services on that location data. We enrich it, we increase accuracy, we do road snapping and snap the map type stuff so that you can get those more accurate distance measurements and get a better sense of the ground truth. And then we run those location logistics services on top of that, such as that proximity, that nearby search that I mentioned, the live order tracking, as well as stuff like geofences and geotags for other use cases. Then all that information that we're collecting and generating is going to be output through a number of various streams, starting with webhooks if you want to respond and consume that information in real time, REST APIs you can query or work with, embeddable dashboards for your operations personnel, and then of course shareable URLs for your customers. And if you want to get a more customized driver or customer experience, we offer a Views SDK where you can stream all that information into your phone application and create these custom map views that you may see today through visits. So for this demo, I created kind of a desktop MERN stack to demonstrate these various streams. Today, I'm going to be using Postman, a very common API, HTTP request response service. So no tricks there. That is going to send these orders into HyperTrack. I'm going to be showing you my phone screen mirrored to my computer, which is open to the Visits application, which is that out-of-the-box open source driver application that includes our SDK. And then from HyperTrack, I'm going to consume the webhook feed through my desktop Node.js Express server. I'm going to store all these events in a Mongo database. And then I'm going to push all those webhooks and any historical information from the MongoDB to my React front end using Sockets.io and, of course, a RESTful API there as well. And I'll also show you our out-of-the-box embeddable dashboards. So let me go ahead and get started. And again, I'll give you a quick overview. We have Postman, as I said. There's going to be a React application we're going to go through. I'll show you some dashboards in a minute. And to give you an idea, so you're not surprised, this is going to be the Node.js logs, which are going to receive all those webhook feeds. And here's a test event that I sent earlier. And of course, my phone screen open to visits. And you can see here that I'm currently logged out as my driver and I'm located somewhere in Boulder, Colorado. So I'll log in real quick and there'll be an update in a second here. But this is just so I can find myself in a nearby search, because the first thing I am going to do is show you that assignment piece. Now, this is the simplest form of a proximity or nearby search, as we call it, in order to perform that on-demand assignment. Show me all the drivers within a radius, in this case, 20 kilometers, and in this case, just one more small filter of everyone who's had a location update in the past 2 hours. And that's around some simple coordinates. So, assuming I formatted that correctly, we'll send it in, we'll get a 200 OK back, and you'll see that my device has shown up here with my device ID, as well as my distance to the location and the duration it'll take me to get there. So a little less than 10 minutes there. So I would quickly take that device ID and I would pipe it into new order assignment. So I've already copied that over through an environment variable into Postman so that it's ready to go for this demonstration. And I've created a simple trip, a simple route, if you will, with 2 destinations. So 2 deliveries in this case. And for this demo, it's going to be the on-demand, the immediate dispatch use case. So there's no scheduling, there's no kind of other complex information around it. I just want my driver to leave right now and execute the deliveries. So in order to do that, we're going to generate some kind of unique order IDs that are interesting to us. Going to give of course, the location that they're going to go to at each stop. with a radius, which is going to represent that arrival circumference. So if the driver enters, we'll mark that as arrived, and you'll know that they're on the site. And that can be, of course, adjusted to the site as needed. There's also this concept of service time. So when we generate ETAs, we want to incorporate the amount of estimated time that the driver needs to get from the car to the door and back to the car, our service time in the last mile case. So in this case, I've given myself 3 minutes. And then, of course, all orders and many other assets in HyperTrack can be tagged with key value pair metadata. And this information will be translated to your ops team, where they can filter based on that information to, say, create different business units. And it will be translated to your drivers so that they can see, any important information about this order that they need to, or that you need them to. So in this case, let's say it's refrigerated, and I just want the driver to know that there is some handling requirements there. So I'll go ahead and send this in as well, and we'll see how it manifests in our various output streams. We get a quick 200 OK back. And the first thing I'm going to show you is in this response is a lot of detailed information about the current status of these orders. But right off the bat, we're going to get this shareable URL. And I'm going to click into that from the webhook stream in a second to show you that customer view. But all the information, all the tracking data, and everything you need to find it is available in this response immediately. So let's see how that manifests in our various streams. So I'll load back up visits there. You can see that a number of webhook events have come in. So we're telling our program, we can respond, we can see in our ops control tower that the trips have started, that first ETAs have been generated, and here's the remaining distance and duration for that specific order. And of course, a number of other flags as well. So we'll hop back into visits, and I'll show you that my orders have been pushed to my device. Or they will have been. There they are. And we can drill down into each order to find the destination for the driver. That metadata field that I entered earlier, you would have seen is here. And then, of course, all the basic information. And a quick overview of the out-of-box features and visits is you're also going to see, many of our customers say that remediation and proof of delivery is an important piece. So, of course, we've included proof of visit photo, some notes that the driver can take and translate into the system. And then, of course, they can perform a few simple actions on that order, cancel complete or delay it for later, say if there was an issue with delivery. And of course, it'll be the same for both. So since those orders have loaded, you'll see that my route has also loaded, and my ETAs for each order is now generated with my estimated arrival time. So let's continue on and see how that manifested in our other streams. So as you can see, since I've been talking and not driving, I haven't gone anywhere, and our first order is already delayed. As I said, I wanted my driver to leave immediately in this case, and I didn't. But one thing I'm going to pull out of this information set from the webhook feed is the shareable URL. So this would be the customer scoped view for this order. So we'll pull that up real quick and see that. Right out of the box, you're going to be able to send this to your customer, and they're going to be able to get that Uber-like experience. Here's my driver. They're 2 minutes late, but they're 9 minutes away, and my new estimated arrival time is going to be 11:26. And these are, of course, scoped to specific deliveries. You saw in the driver app that I had 2 destinations. But of course, the customer doesn't need to know everything that's going on, just what's relevant to their order. So let's see how that manifested on our front end. We can scroll down here. I'll move the Zoom stuff out of the way. And I have 2 ongoing orders with updates that we're going to take a look at. So again, all these updates have been created. It's been assigned. It's ongoing. A first ETA was generated. And this one, of course, is delayed as well. And these are those customer views that I mentioned earlier. So if we click into one of those, it'll give us a more detailed view. That same thing that we showed you off the webhook, I've just embedded there for that control tower experience, because it might be a little easier than installing this. So let's see how all this actually reflects in our operations views out of the box. So here I am, my entire history for the day. And as this loads up, I've only been tracking a few minutes for this demo. I've been sitting still, so nothing interesting going on there. But we also want to look at those live orders. So I'll back into the orders view and we'll find those orders going on right now. Looks like it's taking a second to load up. So as that comes up, you'll see that the same information that the driver's getting, that complete view that's necessary for operations, is also here with all that metadata tag, the entire trip history for these orders, and of course, all the estimates, the current status, so on and so forth. So those are the main output streams that I've shown you, that programmatic feed through the webhooks, those shareable URLs, the customer scoped URLs, the operations view, and of course the driver view, which reflect each other in this case. So the last little step I'll do today for the demo is I'll show you what happens if I make major changes in the system. So I'm just going to come over to my phone for my visits application. And let's say, this order got canceled, for example, or let's just say that the driver decided he was going to complete it or she was going to complete it without heading to the location. So what happens there? I'll go ahead and click complete. It'll update through our various streams. And how does HyperTrack handle this event? So you'll see that the order status has been updated. We did get a couple of webhooks in, and momentarily we'll get a quick reroute of that driver. So there's been an ETA change, as you can tell, for this second order, which of course the customer view will have been updated as well. And there's a new ETA, a new arrival time, and we're 8 minutes away. And then of course that's manifested in those dashboards as I showed you earlier. We'll be able to come over here and see those updates in a second. And all those updates are also going to come through the webhook feed directly into my front end, where we can see these ETA change events coming in, and we can see this completion event for that other order. So we'll go back to our dashboard, see how that's going, and see that the same information is reflected here at the operations level. And of course, this order was not visited. So the very last thing I think that you might be interested in seeing today is what happens to the customer view at this point. So I'll close this one and we'll go back to our completed order and we'll see how the customer responds after the order is completed. And what's going to happen here is very simply the tracking link is not dead, but it shows the history of that order. Here's what happened when, here's where the order was delivered at. So in this case, there's a huge deviation between my location and the order location at the time of completion, which, for most last mile customers is going to mean that something went wrong and that needs to be investigated. And of course, the customer doesn't need to see where I'm driving anymore. So they no longer get live tracking just that history. And then, of course, I'll show you one last thing today, because for this demo account, I just have one driver, just myself, just very simple, very clean. But once you get more detailed with HyperTrack and you start adding your hundreds or thousands of drivers for more complex use cases, you are going to want to see a bunch of rich information about what's going on. So for that, we offer these these scoreboards for many common metrics and kind of basic information. And this is, of course, for app user tracking. Detailed outage information, so you can break down kind of your driver behavior, see what's going on there. And of course, you can drill down into any of these to get exportable tables that show all your drivers, everything they did, and you can zoom through the different metrics that you might be interested in, as well as their activity and the basic roll-up information. And of course, the live tracking view will be much more interesting as well. Whereas in those dashboards, you only saw one route and one driver. Once you have hundreds of drivers, or in this case, probably 50 for this region, you'll see that they all show up on the map. These green squares representing current orders in progress. And it looks like this customer is having a bit of a tracking rate issue today with various things, but many of them are doing well and currently on active orders. So that is the conclusion of our demo today. And I wanted to open it up at this point to questions.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ben.
Sure.
One question came to me here. Is the control tower code available on GitHub?
Absolutely. I'm in the progress of cleaning this up a bit, and it will be available and pushed to a public Git repo within the next week. And all attendees, and of course, I'm sure we'll publish that through the HyperTrack blog, and anyone who attended will also get that link as well. So if anyone wants to take a look at this code, see how I used sockets.io to push the webhook from the server to the front end, see any of those details, it will absolutely be available in code. And everything is in JavaScript. I just went with the Node.js, the MERN stack, to make things simple. So most people should be familiar with the code.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then one more question. Can you integrate webhooks and dashboards into existing monitoring solutions? Like if
absolutely,
if the customer has their own. Okay.
Yeah. So I've embedded a few simple pages, not all the dashboards that I've shown you. So if we go back here, one thing I'll show you is that every single dashboard page has its own embed link. And of course, you can develop those programmatically. And we even give you the iframe code. If you just want to drop this into your own website immediately, you can do that using either the embeddable filterable code. There's URL parameters actually you can use to create specific custom views for different business units, so on and so forth. But every one of these pages is in fact embeddable, including some of our main pages and our actual nearby assignment summary page. You can see I've embedded in my control tower, and that'll load up that nearby search I did earlier in a second and just show you the results on a map. And as well as another interesting thing is there's actually an order summary page that a lot of our customers have started using recently that's perfectly embeddable as well. And you can see that's for my ongoing trip with a little bit more detailed information. And here you can take manual action on it, or you can use that kind of bigger map live tracking view.
Cool. Got it. Thanks for that. Go ahead, Mahesh, if you have a question.
Hey, so the embeddable, the map view that you have, right? Is it possible to put some, like custom these things of custom map elements embedded into that? An example is that I want to, in the map view that is being shown, I want to show the stores that our riders have to go and pick up orders from.
Absolutely.
So, in a particular embedding, I want to say, put these stores in that. That is one way. Or if I want to say the geofences that we have configured for this rider, I want to show that in the map view, saying that, okay, he was completely inside the geofence, or he went from geofence 1 to geofence 2.
Absolutely. So all those tools do show up in the map view. Any store that you would want your driver to go pick up from, you could represent either as an order or a geofence or a pin on the map, and then you could display those. So actually, if we go back to this customer view, you'll see that these green squares, the green circles are the drivers and the green squares are the destinations, the actual stores or warehouses that they're headed to for pickups or deliveries. So all that shows up on the map as well. And then geofences also show up. And I had one that I created earlier, but I can get that set up, or I can send you some documentation, but absolutely, they'll show up as a little dot with a circle around
Okay.
them on the map.
But then what you're talking about is just creating the geofences in the HyperTrack, right? So maybe only for this order, I want to show in for our ops users. Then, I have to set it up in the HyperTrack, then it will show in every view of that I've created, right? Which is probably maybe not I want. Say, for example, I want to show an order tracing. The route. So one good thing with this view of a user is that it shows you, okay, he turned off the GPS here, there was an outage here, and he logged in here, and he picked up here. Now, along with that, I want to show this is the geofence that this person is tagged with, and this is another geofence that the adjacent area that he is supposed to be going. And those things I want to put it in the embed view of this.
Okay, so the if you just create a separate geofence, it'll show up everywhere in the dashboard for this. And of course, there's breakdowns of those as well. But this is actually the order geofence. And this is a bad example because this particular gig worker turned off his tracking. But this is where we expect him to be. This is where we want him to be. And this is the radius that our customer set for that location. So that is showing up there. And you can see that this is where he started tracking. This is the last location ping we got. But at this point, you probably want to have an operations guy call this guy because he's turned off tracking while he's working.
Yeah. Okay. I had one more question.
Sure.
Is there a time period in the embeddable URL? So I want to say, show the view of this particular user from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. because that's the time period when some order happened, and I want to show that.
You mean to your operations, or you're talking about the customer?
To the operations, to our operations, not the customer.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So natively, the way we handle that, and if I'm misunderstanding your question, please stop me and correct me. We only track during intended times. So typically people, for privacy and a number of other reasons, drivers don't want to be tracked 24/7. So yeah, you can start.
The rider is online for work, but maybe he didn't get any order at all. Yeah. And I want to put a investigative link for our operation guys to click on and see what the user did when he was online. So obviously you will have the data only when the app is doing the tracking, right? When the tracking is on.
Yes.
But I want to give them a time-bound range. I don't want to show them one entire day, right?
Just a specific period.
Just a user's link, if I give, it shows this entire history where you can go on any other date and see all of that, and the user will be confused. Like if you see this entire thing, right? Now it is showing for the entire time period, but I want to show only within this time period. I want to show the what the rider or the who went with.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I think I understand. So there are filters you can use, especially with the embeds. You can use these URL filters to customize everything on the screen. Like these links can be removed. You can cut this down to a specific day. I would have to double check if the app user history can be limited to a specific thing, but orders are absolutely scoped. So if you are creating orders with HyperTrack and tracking them.
We are not creating orders.
Okay. So for just scoping those embeddable app user views to like a specific subset of their history, as you said, not necessarily the whole time they're tracked, but only these 5 hours they're supposed to be doing stuff and you want to know, you can absolutely remove all the navigation from this, and you can set the specific day in the URL. But I would have to look up whether or not you can limit it to the hour. That's a very interesting use case, and I'll certainly bring it up with my product team.
Okay,
cool. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Mahesh. Eric, do you have a question?
Yeah, good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you are geographically. Ben, great presentation. I had one follow-up question. I know a lot of the HyperTrack data metrics that I guess a significant portion of your client base is looking at are X and Y axis, essentially latitude and longitude. One of the next scopes we're looking at is altitude. In urban areas, we've got drivers going up 40, 50, 60 floors in an office building. And depending upon the height they're going, really impacts the service time, using your terminology, at a particular location. I know that the location coordinates do come back with an altitude. Is there any plans on further, I guess, massaging that data or enhancing it as far as its accuracy? We've noticed some cases where the altitude being reported back exceeds the actual height of the building.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure, is that a sea level height or is that a ground truth height?
Oh, no, this would absolutely be from sea level.
Okay.
So I'm located near Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City.
Yeah, I know Denver, yeah.
Yep, exactly. 1600 for the Mile High there. So that is absolutely from sea level. And that's an interesting question because that is something, it's not the first time I've heard that. And you want to know like how many flights they went up. You want to divide that by, an average. 10.
Yeah, essentially what I want to do is for every X amount of feet, I want to add a metric of 1 minute or 2 minutes. And if it's between 12 noon and 1 p.m., I want to add, a factor, a multiplier of times 2, say a 50% multiplier. Between 7 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., I want to add a 100% multiplier for that building. Between, 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., I want to add a 100% multiplier. Elevator shafts are busier. People have to wait for elevators. The service time at that building at 9 a.m. is not the same as the service time at 10:30 in the morning, for example. And that's one of the things where we're going next, is just to finesse that sort of data. But I've just noticed I'll call it the accuracy of that data doesn't seem at first glance to carry the same sort of weighting that your lat long accuracy does. So I wasn't sure if that is being enriched in the same fashion as the latitude and longitudes are.
I'll have to double check on the enrichment so I don't speak out of turn, but I can tell you I've spoken with our lead mobile developer about this extensively, and he gave me a little crash course in how geolocation and that information is generated. And it is far more difficult for the OS to generate an accurate elevation than it is. And that actually translates through us. So you are correct that there is generally greater error in that, because where lat long can be triangulated between 3 towers or satellites that are spread out in an XY grid, there's no towers or satellites beneath ground that can be used to triangulate that elevation as well. So it's often has a greater error, and that is a very interesting problem that we're working on. It's I'm not sure what I'm allowed to promise here. But the next step for HyperTrack is actually to improve the enrichment of that and the geo data, as well as address data through some machine learning techniques and others. So it's absolutely a problem that we're looking into. I can tell you today, yes, unfortunately, that is going to be less accurate than lat long, but it is enriched, because if the device is, say, active, we know that they're moving, that they're walking, because the OS is telling us, or the accelerometer is telling us. But say the lat long aren't changing with any significance, we know they're moving up and down. So as that adjusts, we can make a more accurate estimate of the elevation, and that is absolutely something we're working on getting more right and enriching further in the future. And that's very interesting. I like hearing what you're doing, that approach about service times, estimating based on time of day. It's definitely something that I've heard a lot of customers are trying to get right as well. And being able to predict, how high they're going to have to go up in a building and how long that's going to take is a very interesting use case. And I think our approach is going to be more the machine learning, using historical data. If you deliver to the same people 10 times, obviously you have a better idea how long it takes to do it and when. But that time of day plus, the basic information you have, they're on floor 10 and it's 9 a.m. is definitely a quick start way that I think we'll need to discuss further
That's one of the things we're looking at doing is visualizing vertical density in office towers and visualizing where a driver is within that facility, incorporating package size, package weights, how many packages a driver can carry up. Is he better off carrying packages going from floors 1 to 10 than going back to his car and getting all the other packages they couldn't fit in his messenger bag or on his dolly and doing, floors 20 through 30. We have all the floor numbers or suite numbers associated with the orders. So we're doing some rudimentary calculations on our side based upon, I guess you could call it average floor heights in a commercial high rise in an urban environment. But it's not always accurate, and to try to do a little bit of matching with what you guys have. And coming back, we just noticed some data discrepancies. As something I can bring up with, Eugene and the rest of the team if need be, but we're still in the early stages as well. I just wanted to know if that was something that you guys are planning on, working on in the next, couple of quarters. We're ideally looking at, obviously being a Mapbox client and having the GL aspect and building extrusions in 3-dimensional and horizons. We're really trying to go towards from a 2-dimensional aspect to a 3-dimensional aspect in 2022.
Yeah, and it's going to be absolutely necessary if you want to deliver it in any major city. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'd love to connect with you on this. Like I said, for today, I can tell you it's enriched, and I can tell you that it's lower accuracy than lat long. But I think there's a real opportunity in the industry there. So let's definitely you, I, and Eugene, and anyone else who's relevant connect on that going forward.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, guys. The only question I had: keep up the great work and excellent product development.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.
Hey, just this is Ram here from the team. Just wanted to thank Eric for his question, and also, from a product standpoint, I'm from the product team here, so we are absolutely looking at improving our ETA prediction, and the data you mentioned around altitude for buildings is absolutely something we'll be incorporating into that. Aggregated by lat long and trying to see what the variability of altitude is and how that impacts ETA. So that's a key focus of our product starting this quarter, and I expect this year is going to be transformational in that space for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for adding that, Ram. Really appreciate it. So this was a great discussion. I'm glad that we're able to hear what folks are working on and how we can better support you. Of course, we're only as good as our customers are. So I definitely appreciate the engagement. Did you have another question, Mahesh? Before we wrap up,
yes.
I see the hand on.
Yeah.
Go ahead before we wrap up.
So okay, thank you. Thanks for accommodating the last question. So
for sure.
So we have around 59% as our tracking rate. Okay, for all our app users. Now I want to put something in our ops control tower to regional teams. So it's like spread across the country, right? I want to put it in regional teams saying that, see, there is a problem in this area. You need to act about it. 59% is overall, right? And sometimes half of it is like if I see the reason, 10% says it's service lost by OS and location service disabled, location permission not given, right? So some of it is not you cannot really solve it per se. Some of it is like education and everything. So this insights dashboard that's given is that embeddable with metadata filter. So I want to be able to say, okay, your region, okay, this Bangalore area or this particular team, right? Then this tracking, so that I can say you need to act. You need to act. You're good. Is there a way something like that can be embedded, or something we can do about it?
So absolutely. All these views, you can see I've filtered this view by Colorado, and it can be further filtered by the basic regions, but also metadata. So if you have different specific business units that span regions, you can create customized regions that way. But to filter this insights view and this drill down, it's absolutely regionally based. One thing that's I personally wish we had, and I think we're working on for the next update here is there's no way to compare regions, see who is the highest performer yet. You can extract all the data. You can do it, on your end. It's totally available.
On Excel or something.
Yeah, but these embeddable views are 100% filterable by region, and you can do that through the URL filters.
Is this embeddable? Is this what you're showing on the screen?
This will be embeddable very soon. This is actually, this drill down from the scoreboard is the new iteration of Insights. Insights is currently embeddable, but it's a little, we've determined that, this kind of flow is a little bit more useful, and the information is a little bit more specific here. So this is absolutely going to be one of our next major product announcements, and I'm happy to show it to you today. So this is embeddable. Insights is embeddable today. And then, of course, the map views, everything is filterable by region. And that's URL parameters, both for metadata filters.
Yeah, okay, great. This is something I'll take a look how we can embed this in our system.
Absolutely.
Okay, yes, thank you very much, Ben.
Sure.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate you all showing up. And letting us know what you're working on, and again, how we can help you. So if you have further questions, of course, you know how to reach out to us. You can hit us on Slack or email us directly at our first names at hypertrack.io. So with this, we'll let you get back to the rest of your afternoon or morning. Appreciate it.